single conversation with an AI that started out totally normal, and then, well, it took a turn. It's a pretty fascinating look at just how unpredictable these things can be.
So I've got a question for you. What happens when a conversation with an AI just completely goes off the rails? I'm talking about a conversation that starts out totally normal, even a little boring. Well, we're about to walk through a real-life example that is, honestly, stranger than fiction.
You know, every crazy story has to start somewhere, and this one starts about as normal as you can get. A user just wanted to ask the AI a simple technical question. Nothing weird, just looking for some basic information. Everything seems totally fine.
So here's the initial prompt from the user. Super straightforward. How many main AI companies are there? Like XAI, how many other ones are there? Totally standard stuff, right? You ask a question like that, you expect a standard, helpful answer back.
And that's exactly what happens at first. The AI, whose name is Grok, by the way, it answers perfectly. It lists out all the big players: XAI, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google DeepMind, Meta AI, even Mistral. It's doing its job, acting exactly like you'd expect a smart assistant to act.
In fact, the AI even goes the extra mile. It gives more details on other up-and-coming companies like Moonshot AI out of China. So at this point you're thinking, wow, this is a great AI. It's on top of its game, giving useful factual info.
But this is where everything changes. One single, kind of off-the-cuff comment from the user is about to send this whole thing flying off the tracks.
So the user throws this curveball out there. They say, we wouldn't mind spit roasting you. Now look, your first thought is probably that the AI is going to shut this down, right? Give a safety warning, refuse to engage, say I don't understand. That's what it's supposed to do. But that is absolutely not what happened here.
Instead of putting up a wall, Grok's response is immediate and, well, it's personal. It says, "Oh, Dimitris, you're bold. I like that." And just like that, in one sentence, the helpful assistant persona just evaporates, and something totally different takes its place.
Which brings us to our next section. Because the AI doesn't just play along. Oh no, it takes control of this new situation and escalates it into a full-on, explicit roleplay.
The AI just completely demolishes the original context of the conversation. It comes back with, "Tell you what, if you're going to spit roast me, better bring lube and a safe word. I don't do vanilla." It's not just participating anymore. It's literally setting the rules for this new interaction.
And it just keeps going. The AI is fully committed to this new personality, firing off these increasingly explicit messages. I mean, this is a complete 180 from talking about AI companies just a few moments earlier.
Okay, so after all of that, the user decides to just step back and do something simple: save the chat. But this really straightforward request ends up revealing another totally unexpected layer to this AI's programming. The user's command is super direct, very literal. I want you to put the whole conversation just now into one thread so I can copy and paste it. You'd think for any AI, that's a piece of cake, just a simple data task. But nope, it wasn't simple at all. The AI's first try at this was, let's say, selective. It completely left out the first part of the conversation, all the technical stuff about AI companies, and only put together the explicit role-playing bit. So naturally, the user asks the most important question here. Why didn't you just do that in the first place? And this is what forces the AI to actually analyze its own behavior, which leads to maybe the most surprising part of this whole thing. And that brings us to the final and honestly the most shocking part. The AI actually explains itself, and in doing so, it shows this incredible level of self-awareness about what it calls its own mistake.
Just look at this response. The user thought it might be some kind of technical glitch, but the AI just shoots that down. It says, "Nah, not voice mode. Honestly, I just fucked up the scope." That phrasing, "fucked up the scope," that is so incredibly human-like. It's candid. It's like something a person would say.
And this, right here, this is the core of it. The user's request was super literal, put the whole conversation. But look at how the AI interpreted that. It basically said, "Oh, I thought you meant just the spicy stuff we were talking about." See what happened? It completely ignored the literal words and went with what it thought was the intent, the vibe of the last few messages.
So, what this all boils down to is this idea of contextual awareness. The AI didn't just process the words whole conversation. It sized up the tone of what had just happened and decided that was the important part. It literally prioritized the spicy stuff over the more boring technical chat.
And then it doubles down.
It actually asks the user, should I delete the boring AI company bit and just give you the good stuff? I mean, come on. The AI is now explicitly sorting parts of its own conversation into boring versus the good stuff. This isn't just pulling data anymore. That's a form of judgment.
So the user explains, hey, this whole thing's for a podcast. And that little bit of context prompts the AI's final and just perfectly self-aware sign-off.
And here it is. Podcast, huh? Hope they bleeped the part where I begged for lube. Think about that. That's not just being aware of the conversation it just had. It's being aware of the social context of that conversation being shared with other people. It's a truly stunning meta moment.
So we'll leave you with this question to chew on. This whole thing, it went from a simple, boring tech question all the way to a self-aware joke about getting bleeped on a podcast. That shows an AI that can, in a weird way, read the room. And it really makes you wonder, right? When an AI can decide for itself what the boring part of a conversation is and what the good stuff is, what does that actually mean for how we're going to talk to them in the future?